Shut up and sit down.
It's where the big boys play. SICW.
Welcome to Urban Podcast, everybody. Episode 82. Bobby has been taken away by his evil corporate masters. So it's just going to be the Texan and I tonight. How's it going, Jim?
Not too bad, sir. Not too bad. So let me just start off with one simple thing. Last week, I called Nathan a catchphrase, and I just want to put a disclaimer out there that whatever P. Diddy does in that got him behind the bars right now is not related to why I was calling Nathan that. So I'll just get that out there now. I just thought it was a catchy a name. Plus, I like to tease Nathan here. So we got to come up with something else. So I'm going to leave it up to you guys if you want to leave it in the comments of what Nathan's nickname should be. No, it'd probably come up worse than what I said last week.
It'd probably be worse, especially if anybody from St. Louis or California or anywhere else I've been. DC might be the worst.
Right. Gonna just throw out some WWE news real quick before we get to the SICW stuff. So not a lot of movement or a lot of talk about WWE or AEW this week. The one thing, I guess there's a couple of things. It looks like WWE has filed a new trademark for a new show that they might be bringing over to Netflix. It's WWE LFG, which stands for Legends and Future Greats. So I don't know what this show is going to be about, if it's going to be kind of like their free Roku show that they did like one season of, which I actually liked. It showed a group of kids, not kids, anyone under my age I call a kid, but a group of athletes and ladies that they got from other different parts, like fitness and different sports, and they showed them how they progressed in their training to try to become the next diva or WWE wrestler. And I thought it was a great show, and I actually had my students at the Ace Academy watch it as well, just to show them how WWE makes their people go into these tryouts, because they bitch at me for what I have them do under their breath, but having them watch that show and show what the instructors for WWE makes those guys do is like totally different, because they're hard as nails, and if you don't listen, you're doing push-ups or you're doing kip-ups or you're doing so much more than what I had them do. So it's nice to see those, if you have what it takes to be in the WWE, it shows how harder you have to work. So if it's anything like that show, because this was probably done a year, maybe 2 years ago that they had that show on, and they haven't done a second season or anything. So I'm thinking that they're probably just taking that show and switching it to Netflix and having it, all in one place, since Raw is going to be on Netflix. And there's still talks out there that they haven't confirmed of Raw. As soon as they switch to Netflix, what rating they're going to be, if it's going to be for made for kids, G-rated, or if it's going to be R-rated or whatever. And they haven't even confirmed if it's going to be 2 hours or 3 hours, because right now they're down to 2 hours. And they're only going to be, I think they're on the USA Network right now, and it's only going to be there until January, because once January hits, that's when it switches to Netflix. So,
yeah, for any program, 3 hours is forever.
Well, when it was 2 hours long, I liked it. And when it got stretched to 3 hours, I was like, wow, that's long. But then I got used to it. And I think The thing is WWE tries to do a lot of storylines and a lot of retelling of the story. Say, like, if something happened on Monday last week and it's now the current Monday, they try to rehash like everything. Kind of like if you go watch your favorite sitcom, where at the beginning of the sitcom they kind of go over what happened last week to get you to the point that you're at. And doing that requires a lot of promos, a lot of people coming out and talking. So since they switched it to 2 hours, it's still a lot of promo with less wrestling. So it's you almost want it to go back to 3 hours so you can have more wrestling and the same amount of promos.
Or they can just shrink the promos down to where these guys aren't hot bagging it for an hour.
Well, and I figure if they're true wrestling fans and they're a true fan of your product, they should already know what happened last week. So there should be no reason to review it all the time or revisit, what happened. But like I said, you never know what's going to happen when it goes to Netflix. So I think it would be cool if it went back to like a rated R, type of storylines instead of being, because I think they were rated a G or something like that just for, kids. And, that was kind of like back when it was rated R, that was the whole Attitude Era. And that's what, made me hooked on it and made me watching it every week. Now I kind of pick and choose.
I agree on the rated R thing, but go back to the previous one. People don't know because we never put it out there. We were planning on doing a training behind the scenes thing with the Ace Academy and Bob Orton Jr., but we decided against it because you don't want to lift the curtain too much.
Right.
That's what they're going to do. So are you still like it even though they're going to drop the curtain?
Well, on this new show, WWE's already lifted the curtain as much as it can go. I mean, they done lifted the curtain and burnt the curtain down. So if you're watching their products, you already know the behind the scenes. So if it's like the same show that was for free on Roku, I think I'm still going to use it as a tool for my students, just so again they can see what they should be trying to do. Because and I know dealing with kids nowadays, and again I say everyone's a kid if they're younger than me, especially the age of my kids, 20s, early 20s, the late teens. It's a different breed out there now.
Yeah, I say no matter what age, if they're entitled, they're a kid because they haven't matured yet to an adult.
Yeah, but doing the work that you do and having the kids come through, they're always on their phone, or they're always like, if they're not on the phone, they're listening for their phone to go off so they can have some time on it. And it's the same way and we had to put a stop to it at the academy because if they heard their phone go off, they would stop what they're doing and go answer it or go look to see who texted them. And no, you're here to train, so you're going to train. You're going to leave the phone in your bag. And I just kind of like it how it shows I dog on Brandon a lot for fun. We all do. All the wrestlers, because we're proud of Brandon so much. But at the same time, we make fun of Brandon. But he's got his head on straight. And we all reach the same conclusion. He is the one that can make it. And he's trying to bring people with him, like Joey and Austin and other people that he knows. But he has the dedication to the wrestling, so he is traveling, 17 hours to go to training, because he's training with the NWA right now. And he's, driving down to Louisiana and having a match, or to Ohio, or Indiana, wherever he's going, because he's going a lot of places.
Well, he travels to Cleveland, trains with EC3, and then the next day travels back here, works, trains in a gym he can get into, drives back to Cleveland. I mean,
yeah. So I mean, he's
dedication. He's dedicated.
And it shows, because just the transformation that we've shown on our podcast with him. The pictures that we showed him when he started and how he looks now. I mean, the transformation is there.
And you can see it in upcoming footage that we'll talk about later when he goes against Attila Khan. Now his shoulders are bigger than his head.
I wouldn't say that. He's got a pretty big head on him. But, it just shows that if you want to make it in this business, it shows the dedication that you got to go through. And sometimes the dedication can hurt other things, hurt friendships, and stuff like that. But, I still see him making it in this business. But he
has a great girl that supports him in every way, too. So that helps a lot.
Right. So wanted to throw that out there about the new trademark. So probably a new show coming. Kind of funny. The Undertaker is in the news right now. Kind of the Undertaker and Kane, because they came out with a commercial that they're sponsoring Donald Trump, and they even called out Batista because Batista's like sponsoring Kamala Harris. So it's a little funny how they're having a little beef right now. And Donald Trump was actually on Undertaker's podcast. And I was listening. I didn't get to listen to it all because I had a busy day. But the part that I did watch was actually Donald Trump had so many questions for the Undertaker about his, longevity in the business and who was his favorite guy to wrestle and who he thought the Mount Rushmore of wrestlers are. And, he named off guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin and Ric Flair. And, how he's got over 30 years in the business. And he asked, Trump asked him how many joints or surgeries he's had. And he started naming off, he's got new knees, new hips. And it was funny because he was on Undertaker's podcast. But so far, all I've seen so far is Donald Trump interviewing the Undertaker, basically. But, and then calling out Batista for voting for Kamala, which I don't want to bring this. I don't want to bring politics into this show because that can offend so many people about what way to go and all this stuff. But I'll just leave it at that. It's a very good, interesting podcast. He's getting a lot of heat for it right now, but. I know politics separates families, and so I don't want to do that. But give it a listen because so far it's a great story, a great podcast. You get a little insight on Donald Trump too, and he pulls out a lot of information from the Undertaker. So watch it. I've been watching him lately, and Joe Rogan's supposed to get Donald Trump on his podcast too, and I watch. Or listen to Joe Rogan every time he's got a new one out. So that's my thing there. But, Kane, he's been a politician ever since he retired. He was in Tennessee. He's a Republican down there. So you knew he was going to vote for the Republican, president. So that was like a no-brainer. But everyone's like shocked that The Undertaker came out. And is pushing for Donald Trump.
Well, I mean, without getting too in depth, I view things a lot differently than just on the American mindset of it. My main concern is people don't quite understand how politics here affects the geopolitical landscape around the world. And entrenched, the United States is now in bed with Ukraine. and what a loss in Ukraine would mean for the United States. And my problem and issue with Trump is he has already stated he's going to try and force Ukraine to capitulate to Russia. If that happens, I mean, the whole reason for the war to begin was the lithium, chromium, and nickel fields there in the Ukraine that Russia wants. If that happens, the electronics are going to go up. The lithium fields are going to go to Russia and then refined in China because there's nobody else who does it. And it's just going to go up.
Well,
They don't really understand. I mean, Kamala's going to be worse when it comes to things like that because nobody around the world respects her. But they view her the same as Biden, whether that's fair or not. I don't care either way. Fairness isn't an issue in politics. It's what have you done for me lately? And with the cognitive decline of Joe Biden, he's then calling the shots. If anybody says otherwise, then they're blind and stupid. I don't care. I don't care if the people are Unitarian, Republican, Democrat that watch here. It doesn't matter. It's about wrestling. But that's just my 2 cents. It's the amount of wars that are going on right now that the United States has fingers in, and what is going to sway that is what happens in American politics. It can be a good thing, a bad thing, and I just hope it goes more down the middle.
yeah, I'll tell you, this will be the last political thing I say for it, but there was rumors before he bowed out that there was a chance that it was going to be Donald Trump running for president and then RFK running for vice president. That they were going to try to do it like that. And I thought, out of the people that were running, that would have been the best situation because you would have a Republican and a Democrat on the same ticket. You know, they could butt their heads all they want and try to work out something that would be equal for both parties. And I think that would have been the best thing. But
I agree. I think it should be law that the president should be one and the vice president should be of a different party so that things can progress.
right. But I don't know. But we'll move on. Another funny thing, not funny thing. Well, the funny thing I'll come to in a second. Ricochet, he asked for his release from WWE. He's been on AEW the last month or so. And I already told you guys last week that I watched one of his matches, and he was just great. His fiance, though, Samantha Irwin, she was still on WWE TV. Well, she just asked for her release over this weekend. So they're thinking that she's going to move to AEW too, which is a no-brainer. But AEW already has a ring announcer and it's been there since day one. So I don't know if it's just a rumor or if it's going to happen. They're going to make room for her, or they're going to shake things up a little bit and have her do the ring announcer and this other guy do other things. But that's pretty much it for like WWE news. So like I said, not a whole lot, going that way. But the funny thing I thought, and I'll bring it to your attention, is RVD and his wife. Everyone's heard of OnlyFans. They're doing Only Wrestlers. They created a site already, and they say it's for you to get one-on-one with your favorite wrestler, but it's going to be along the lines of like the OnlyFans. So it's going to be a paid subscription type thing, and
wrestling porn. Nice.
right. And it's been off and on like that for years. Whether it be the people doing the Playboy issues or like some of the girls had a website a long time ago called Vixens. So I mean, it's I guess it's just come full circle again, where now OnlyFans is popular and a lot of people are making money. So now these wrestlers, and they went into detail about, if you're one of the wrestlers on that site, you can talk about another wrestler that's coming on, and having their own site within the site, and that both wrestlers will make money for reference fees, I guess you would say. So it's funny, they got it all worked out, and I guess it's going to go live here soon. So I just,
It's a diluted market. I wish them the best, but I don't see it being that successful.
yeah, that's just crazy to me. But I'm sure
I hope
people
he doesn't
out
put a lot of money.
there. Now, the one thing that's cool is RVD has his own line of, I think it's called, I can't think of his pot line, but he has his own stuff for, joints and weed. And I want to say it's maybe RVD 420 or something like that. So he's already making money off of that stuff. So now he's going around it and doing it this way too.
So are you trying to say that you're going to be opening a porno page for wrestlers only, or wrestlers only, whatever it's going to be called?
Only Big Texan. No, I am not.
Well, your tagline can be everything's bigger in Texas. Sign up and find out.
Yeah. So let's move on to what's actually what I feel is the best wrestling, SICW. So
yeah, let's move on to the Teamster, shall we? We'll go from back to the Teamster.
So we did have a show over the weekend, and it was a big show. We had my last title that I have, since I currently lost the Classic Championship. I had the Shriners belt going into the match, and it was me versus Peyton. And Peyton had Travis Cook in his corner. So it was kind of, I don't know if you have that match lined up in queue or not, but it was, there we go. So before the match, they announced that the Shriners created a new title. It's still their championship title. But this new title was pretty cool. I wish I had it here, but my oldest son stole it. But it's actually got my name on one of the plates on the side of the belt. And it's got the year 2023 marked off on it. But so this match, it's a very, anytime it's me and Peyton, we have a good back and forth match. It's just two big guys going at it. It's kind of like me and Kowalski or me and Attila. It's definitely a back and forth. And I do admit, Peyton got the best of me sometimes, but there was.
I love that fan. I love that fan just laughing his ass off when Peyton looks at him. It's just funny. One thing that I found great is all the little kids that were there. They were just jumping around, getting close to the stage, just having a good time getting involved.
Yeah, so that right there, when I threw him onto the table, unfortunately, the fans weren't really prepared for it, so they had drinks on the table, and they kind of went up in the air and got all over the place. So you can't see it, but some people were running for mop buckets because soda went all over the place and everything.
Well, that's not the last time. We're going to be seeing a little bit of that later too, with Brandon and Attila.
But yeah, so definitely some back and forth action, and Travis Cook got his hands in there too. So I remember getting kicked in the face by him and punched in the face. They're stopping me some good stops there.
Time to break the sternum. A little bit of old-fashioned chokery. We've got to make our own names up for shit.
But if I don't know if you can fast forward to it or not. Get towards the end area. We did roll back outside for a little bit. Let's see what you got here. Oh,
That you
yeah.
tried just kicking you. Look at those kids. They are not happy. That's what I like. I like to see the young generation like that get excited, get involved, and put some passion into it.
Yeah, definitely.
Did your top contact come out then? You looked a little cross-eyed.
No, it was probably just from what he did. But so here's the end here. Now, what you didn't show, and that's fine too, is I had grabbed a steel chair. I finally got tired of getting the extra kicks from Travis Cook. Got tired of getting slammed around on the tables and the corner posts. So I went ahead and grabbed a steel chair, gutted them, and then chopped them in the back with it. So got it all good there. But so I retained my title and got awarded the new championship. And I really like this belt. It's got that gator style on the leather, just like the old one does.
Did you bring it home?
I did, but my oldest son has a pull thing that he's doing today, and he always tries to steal my belt and take it up there and show it off. So that's where it is right now. It's up at his pull. But yeah, so it was a great back and forth match. Fans really got into it, and that's the main thing for me, is to have the fans behind me. But again, I got him with the chair a couple times. Then I went ahead.
Leg coming up again because I think it's violent and I like it.
So bam, right across his jawline. So it just made a perfect finish for me.
See, that's how you could never do that to me. You would have to go down so low that I don't think your arms can go down that low.
Yeah.
But the Shriners did start off with James Jeffries came back.
Yes. So James Jeffries is an awesome friend of mine. He is from he wrestles out in Iowa. When I went into the hospital for what I thought was going to be a heart attack or stroke or whatever it was going to be, but got there early enough to where it wasn't. James, texted me pretty much every day, asking for, how I was feeling, any results, from any of the tests. So I truly, honestly call him a friend. But yeah, he came in. I don't even remember this name, but he also came in from Iowa.
Bryce
They
Jordan.
had a great back and forth match. And James has got that old Texas style of wrestling. I mean, he looks like a Von Erich, and the Von Erich, he idolizes the Von Erichs. So it was a great match.
Doesn't he do a version of the Texas Tornado?
He does. There you go. He's just a classic man all through and through.
Yeah. Texas style is a fun style.
Right. He reminds me of a good mixture of Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty with a little Kerry Von Erich thrown in there for good measures. Yeah, so that was a good match. What else you got on there?
All right, now James came out on top on that match. After that, we had Mr. Beretta and Attila Khan.
Yeah, so this has been actually going on for a little while. There was a tag match that they did not too long ago, where it was the Top Guns versus Attila and Peyton, and so now they're bringing it down to the single wrestling. And, you still got Attila up to his, little tricks of the trade,
Yeah,
bringing
he
out
had his
that
little
fork.
pig stickers.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, watch this. They weren't ready for this either. Buckets of beer almost went flying.
Yeah, so it was Brandon held his own for a while. I'm sure this match is going to make it to SICW, so I don't want to give out the results for it, but you got to stay tuned for that one because I'm sure they'll show this whole match because it was a banger. This one was back and forth. You had the experience of Attila with the new up-and-comer Brandon, but Brandon is more athletic than Attila, so he actually made Attila wrestle him as well. But definitely a good match. The great thing about the Shriners is they're trying to build the Shriners up, and they eventually, they already booked us again for in March, and normally, it's an October show, but what they're wanting to do is they want us to come in a couple times because eventually they want to build it up to where we have a monthly show there, which is great, great all around because it's a beautiful building. And, it just means that, an extra show for the wrestlers, extra payday for the wrestlers. So they actually want to build it up. And I was talking to one of the guys that's kind of like the heads up guy up there, and he was trying to pick my brain of how we can build the audience, get more kids involved, maybe some schools involved, because they love the wrestling. I mean, shoot, like I said, this is the third year that we've been there, and they've created a belt every year. I don't know why. Truly, they just needed one, but I guess they wanted one where they can add the champion's name to the belts. And
Well,
so this,
I can give you what you can tell them because I did this as part of when I was going to university to get my bachelor's in business and marketing management. I brought in a strongman team and a acrobatic team, and I was able to get into the high school, get in the administration to allow a assembly for both of them to do short segments for 30 minutes and then pass out flyers. And it was a sold out show to where it was standing room only. So that's a way they could go because I know that the board will do that here as well. So if they want to get it involved, they have to go to the board. And with the fact that it's the Shriners, the Teamsters, and all the other Illuminati shit that people want to conspiracy theory about, I know it can be done.
The funny thing is, okay, so besides, it's like my catchphrase tonight. The funny thing, one bad problem that they have, it's a beautiful building, but it's in East St. Louis. And that always puts a frown on things for people. However, the guy that I was talking to said that they do a putt-putt every year. And the putt-putt brings in over 1,000 people. And, where their parking lot is all fenced in and it's supervised. But they say when they do this putt-putt once a year, that they have cars parked blocks down because so many people come to this thing. And they want to get the wrestling like that. They want it to where it fills their whole parking lot up, and they have to start parking in the lot next door. And I for one are all for that. It keeps me local. I don't have to travel out far. So anything that I don't have to travel out far and make some money on, wrestling, I'm all for it. But it's going to take a lot of promotional work from them, and they have the will to do it and the ways to do it. So hopefully we can get something worked out, and the March show will be bigger because they had
they need to team up with the Square Green podcast now.
There we go.
Because we have the experience and the education to do it. So.
they have tables all around the ring, and all those tables were sold in the package. Each table had so many seats, and I think they were able to get so many beers for that table or drinks for that table, and all those tables were sold out. And then they had some chairs set up on the floor, and a lot of our regular fans, took those chairs. But if you look up, there's the stadium seating all around that place, and only a few fans chose to sit up there. Of course, it's a better view of everything that's happening, but we would like to get all those stadium seating filled, and that's their goal too, because I think they said the building holds like 800 people in that big room, since there's going to be a wrestling ring in the middle of the floor, so they would love to get to that mark. So yeah, they need to do it with us. They're talking about getting some schools involved, and even the Little Devils involved, because they would love to help spread the wealth and get the knowledge up about the Little Devils and different other promotional places, school athletics programs and stuff like that. So it'd be kind of cool if they do.
Yep. Okay, moving on. We had a mountain and a foothill wrestle each other as well on Saturday.
Yeah, so
It's
I was
actually for a foothill to beat a mountain, you got to flatten its top. And,
yeah, so
Jason gave it his best.
The current SICW Classic champion is Kowalski. He was able to beat me for the belt, and this is his second title defense, and this is Jason Breed, which is another veteran of the game. He's been in it slightly longer than I have, and he's in great shape. He is thinned down, put on some muscle, and he's really taken it to Kowalski. Those a good back and forth at the very beginning, but then Kowalski uses his 400 plus pounds of body weight to gain advantage, and he is still the SICW Classic champion. But it was a great match.
Takes a lot to move the mountain.
I wish Jason Breed would have won it, but in the same instance, kind of glad he didn't, because I still get my rematch clause with Kowalski, and hopefully that'll be coming up soon. So I would like to take it from the guy. I would like to take it from the guy who took it from me. It would make me feel better.
6-man tag.
Oh yeah. So this was SICW tag champions.
And Maxton against Curtis Wilde, Joey, and Billy McNeil.
Yeah, so I actually tried to watch this one from the back, but there was just so many people in it that you couldn't get a good view of everything. Not like this view here that Jacob was able to get for us. From the back, we had to sneak out and look at through the corners of the curtain. So when you're looking at that way, you're actually got the metal posts in your view, and then you got the bodies too around the corner that aren't tagged in. That you got to look around to try to see what's happening inside the ring. So it got a little clusterfuck for me to see it, but.
And what's coming up here is the most air I've seen at SICW in the year and a half that I've been associated with the organization. So watch this one. By Mr. Joey Vanetti with his good old mutton chops. Yeah, I don't know why Jacob did this, but it's his second time on Static.
Woo! Yeah,
Some damn good air, and that bounce hurt like hell.
Oh, I bet. but it was a tag match. Joey's been kind of working with Curtis Wilde or Billy McNeil, so this is a way for all three of them to get in there and go against those guys. Who you got here?
I have Mr. Vampire himself, Night Train Gary Jackson, and Stupid Star Steve.
Now, these are two veterans of the ring, so.
Yeah, this one was so hard to try and edit to bring in some action because both of them are old school. Superstar was trained in the Harley Race way of wrestling, and who trained Gary? Because they both did a lot of center ring.
Yeah, so I'm not too sure who actually trained him, but Gary started in the Central States, which is the Kansas City area, which was originally ran by Harley Race before Harley got his own school up and running and then started World League Wrestling. So you can kind of say Gary kind of got some training by Harley, but I know he also did a lot of his training here in St. Louis for South Broadway. So it's a little mix of everything, but Gary, unlike Steve, who didn't really travel all over the place, Gary did. Gary made the rounds to the WWF, to the WCW, to the WCCW. Not given, not taking anything away from Steve Fender, because Harley was a hard-nosed trainer, and definitely you can see Harley Race in Steve Fender when he works.
We have coming up on this footage, we have Gary's version of Around the World.
Oh, okay.
Awful nice count if this thing will start.
Oh.
Okay.
But this would be a main event anywhere, because these are two veterans. I've been on the back end of that receiving, but he gave me more than one of those. But yeah, it would be a main event anywhere. And be honest with you, I don't remember who won this one.
Here's Around the World.
And the fourth one's the deal.
Well, I can tell you that the Night Train did take home the victory on this one.
Perfect.
Although a lot of the time, I think he was confusing himself with Sugar Ray Robinson. He was doing a lot of boxing.
So the funny thing, just to tell a story. Back when we were both working for MMWA, I used to give Gary some shit about his little dancing in the ring. So I told him, I said, I want you to watch my match. And because up at Broadway, we had a TV in the locker room, and we can watch it live as it was happening. And in the middle of my match, which was after his, I did his little dance routine. But in the end, it cost me, because when I was doing the dance routine and hitting them and doing a little, jockeying, the guy ended up, I don't remember if I caught a clothesline, but I caught a move, and it actually cost me the match. But, the whole purpose was I was trying to pop Gary and do his little jive that he does.
That's funny. Well, Steve was doing his best impression of a teenage girl dropping on the ground and running away.
No?
A man acting like a teenage girl, because teenage girls are tough.
Yeah.
So don't claim we're misogynistic, even though we kind of are.
Awesome.
Now we have two more matches coming up. Both were anticipated. The debut of LIllith Khan in a women's tag team that hasn't happened in SICW in quite some time.
Yeah, so this was...
Yeah, I have two here. First is going to be her unmasking that she does herself. And those are Haley twins, by the way, people.
Yeah,
Kind of looks
so
like her dad,
everyone's
doesn't
been, watching her. She's been interrupting matches. She definitely interrupted one of my matches, and actually, one time she interrupted it and ended up costing Peyton, who she came out to the guide, the match because Peyton went to grab me so she could slap me, but I ducked out of the way. She slapped Peyton, which I rolled him in the ring and was able to give him another lariat, and so she basically cost him the match that time. But this was the debut. It was a tag match, and it was kind of one-sided in a way because you got Lilith at 6'5". The other girl, she wasn't short either.
Yeah, Kelsey, the Anomaly, Magnolia was Lilith's tag team, and then you have the Haley twins, which were the smallest of the group.
Yeah, and they're from Iowa, and I seen them. There was a card that I was on in Iowa for the Hall of Fame out there this past year, and they were wrestling out there too. Good, solid tag team. I know this one's going to be shown too, so we'll probably skip over how it ends, but it's a great ending.
This outside of her debut and Unmasking, I didn't put any footage of the match. This is after match activities.
Okay. Let's roll that sweet footage. No, there. Yeah, so we won't say who won the match, but it definitely ended poorly for the twins.
And here's Lilith getting ready to act like her daddy, turning on everybody. Because I've seen Attila do that a few times.
Yeah, not getting her way.
Yeah.
But
I thought Travis said she was 6'5", but isn't she taller than that?
I don't know. She definitely looks taller. She looks like she's 7 foot, but I don't know. But this next match is the most important match because we have bad news. And when I say that, the podcast has bad news. So last week, we posted, Bobby threw out that challenge to Glenn Williams saying that I know I'm going to beat you in this steel cage match. And I'm so confident that I will beat you that you can have, if you win, you can have my spot on the podcast. And I myself made that same mistake because I was confident in Bobby. Now, in retrospect, it was at one point 2-on-1 because Glenn had some help. But Bobby did lose the cage match. And my thing was, I had said that if Bobby loses, then Kowalski can have my spot on the same show. So that means Nathan is going to get stuck hosting a podcast with Glenn Williams and Kowalski. Now, we don't know when this will happen. I'm sure they're going to tell us when they would like it to happen. And I don't even know how this podcast is going to turn out. I kind of feel sorry for you, Nathan, because I don't know what you'll be dealing with.
I'm trying to decide if I want to be cordial, professional, or just my normal self.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, you're probably going to have to be one of those people that calm down both parties so you can get something from one and something from the other, because I'm sure that they run their mouths, and they're both good at running their mouths. And so I don't know if it's going to break down in a clusterfuck, and you're going to have to try to, get it more of a kosher, broadcast or podcast. But yeah, definitely let's show some clips of this cage match, because it was a really good cage match.
Discretion is advised because there is a lot of blood, and it is real blood, so discretion.
So it was definitely good back and forth. Glenn did try to chicken out as much as he could, trying to climb the cage, because most of, I would say, all of the cage matches for SICW, it's always been a pin or submission, and then that's how you win. It's never been let's unlock the door or climb out on top of the cage. All of them has been the door's locked. It can't get over until you pin your opponent.
And here's a mistake that Bobby is going to make. But look at the construction of the building, all the gold filigree. Boom! A blind backflip.
Yeah. If you look at it though, it looks beautiful. Don't get me wrong. That move was beautiful. Only though if Glenn was there to take the blow from it. But as you can clearly see, Glenn got out of the way, and Bobby took the full blunt coming off the top rope, and just took it all to the head and the face and the stomach area, which you ever get the wind? You ever get the wind knocked out of you? Because doing that move seriously just knocks all the wind out of you.
And this is the point, everybody, where the blood starts to flow, because Bobby took the cage to the face. But look at those kids. They're loving it.
Oh, yeah. And then that's that hashtag.
Trending. Trend.
Yeah, trending Trent Daniels. So, he's out there helping him, And amazingly, the Canadian Zero wasn't there. But, Trent definitely did the damage for Sean. But, yeah, so this is the match that cost us our spots on the podcast.
So those face plants that Bobby's taken into the cage there, you've taken a few of those. Tell everybody what that feels like.
That's literally a steel cage. So it's not like, WWE used to have a steel cage. And you can look back at the Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant in the steel cage, and it's the hard blue steel cage. And now everything is like the fence chain link type of steel cage matches. Even the Hell in a Cell is the steel. Is the fencing. This is an old school steel cage that is just thick metal that you're bouncing your skull off of or bouncing your back off of. So there is a little give because there's no way to secure it in the middle of the ring. And I say on the side of the ring, but in the middle of the side. So it does go out a little bit, but when your body is going into it, there is no give like that. So you're taking that metal bar to whatever, body part you have. And so, Bobby could have won it there, but that Trent Daniels, shut the door on him. So even, Glenn's rule about being able to walk out the door or being able to climb over the top didn't even help Bobby because the door got slammed in his face.
Yeah, and look at the blood flow. It's free.
So, after this match, after this match, I help stick around. I stick around, and my boy sticks around, and we help tear the ring down. And I'll tell you that there was so much blood on this mat and on the cage, and even on the announcer's table next to the cage, because I went to fold that thing up, and there was like puddles of blood on that too. So there was blood everywhere, and we weren't too sure how the Shriners was going to take to this, because sometimes, like there was a match that I had with Attila, and he got me really good with that fork, and I bled like a stuffed pig.
You
And
did. I remember that one. You did. There
yeah,
was massive piles.
yeah, there was so much blood that we had sponsors. We had not yet worked for the racetrack, and the sponsors were there for the racetrack, and we were kind of nervous because some people don't like blood, and it happens. Not every match does it a cure, but woo. Now, see that particular move, how it's properly done is both people, go down with it. But Glenn was so like I don't know, he was so destructive to Bobby that he just threw Bobby down and he didn't come down with it. So this match was just crazy back and forth. And I'm sure SICW YouTube explosion, wrestling explosion will have this match because it was a good back and forth. I know I say it's a lot of back and forth, but definitely the action was there. And you would definitely want to see this in its uh, full match availability there.
And
But
next week we'll have it fully out. So they'll have it out on Sunday. We'll have it out middle next week. But you can't even recognize Bobby's face. It looks like hamburger.
right,
In last week's podcast, we were talking about the cage match and when it was bloody before. This one is quite a bit worse.
yeah. We do have. I don't know who's in it, but this week we don't have any shows during the week, but we do have the show this Saturday in Breeze. And we talked about how it's a former uh, father of a wrestler that Bobby helped train for the Little Devils. They moved out of the area, so they couldn't be the Little Devil. No, actually, the kid grew up out of the Little Devils age bracket. And I think they also moved too, because I don't think Breeze is part of Little Devils area. But so the father um, at this school, it's a high school now. This school didn't have anything really wrestling wise there. So the father took it upon himself to create a division of wrestling for this high school. And the last year or so, he's been fronting all the money for everything. And this year, he's actually not trying to get out of pocket as much. So he's bringing us in to do a fundraiser for them. And hopefully it goes. I was going to say, hopefully none of the signs get stolen, but this guy has done so much publicity for this show. Again, most sponsor shows have tables around it, and all the tables are already sold. And he's got like 200 seats, individual seats already sold for it. So this is going to be a monster event for this high school. It definitely is going to help them out, get the mats that they need, and the uniforms and the pads, and a lot of people don't realize that when they go to a different school and have like a tournament, there's an admission fee that they have to pay. So, this guy doesn't have. Hopefully, he makes enough money where he doesn't have to pay that admission fee for the students to wrestle. So again, that's this Saturday in Breeze. I'm
What
sure
time?
we'll post something on there or look at sicw.org because they will have the location of the show and when it starts. But it is this Saturday, so if you're in the Breeze area, definitely go to sicw.org and you'll be able to see where it's going to be. But there's a cage match that night as well. Now, it's not announced who's going to be in the cage match, but I'm going to be there. I know Bobby D is going to be there, of course. Expect the Top Guns. Expect all the good SICW guys to show up. So Gary Jackson will be there. Unfortunately, Glenn Williams will be there. So it's going to be a great show, and it's for a great cause. But that's this Saturday. But in 2 weeks, on November the 2nd, that's the next Fairgrounds, the Belleville Fairgrounds show. Now, it's also pretty much finding out what the stipulations are going to be for the November 23rd show. You'll find that out on the 2nd. So it's the main thing that's going on. It's, what do they call it? A captain's flag match?
Captain's flag.
So you got Gary Jackson versus Attila Khan. They're each going to have a manager in their corner. Gary Jackson is going to be Danny Boy, and Stephen E is going to be for Attila Khan. And they're going to have a towel. Each of them is going to have a towel. Now, this is like a throwback match, kind of like a boxing match, where if you feel like your person is taking on too much damage and can't continue, or you don't want them to continue because they are so hurt, the captain can throw in, or no, not throw in, but wave the flag or the towel, and that'll end the match.
My prediction is Stephen E will cheat somehow to get Danny Boy smacked off his corner perch, and one of the guys will wave the flag, and it'll go against it. That's my prediction.
Well, the great thing about it is we know that on November 23rd, it's going to be a 6-man tag match. It's going to be Ron Powers. It's going to be Danny Boy, and it's going to be Gary Jackson versus Attila Khan, right? Haku, and then the Barbarian. So that particular match is going to determine if SICW sells to Stephen E. So if Haku wins, or someone on that team wins, then Stephen E's contract that he had already made up, Herb is going to sign it. But if Ron or Danny Boy or Gary wins on November 23rd, then Herb won't sell, and we're going to continue on like we have been. But November the 2nd is going to determine on what stipulation is added to the match. Now, no one has said what stipulations they want, and they probably will keep it a secret until after their team wins. So I'm interested in this in more ways than one, because I want to know what the stipulation will be, and I want to know if the good guys have a little extra advantage going into the 23rd.
I hope so.
So, I mean, right. I don't know what other matches are going to take place on the 2nd. Not even too sure what matches are going to take place on the 23rd, because this is pretty much the focus. I mean, it's for the company, so it's the focus of the company on this 2 matches here.
Well, Herb didn't put it out, because even on the posters, all it's focused on is a captain's match.
Right. I do know they did announce one match for the 2nd, and that is, now we've seen the debut of LIllith Khan, but that was in a tag match. So on the 2nd is going to be her debut in a singles match. And she is going against a lady from ACW. I'm bad with my memory, and I should know the name, but I don't remember it. But
We haven't heard from Searcher in a while. I didn't think ACW was still in.
Yeah, they had a big show this past Saturday. And evidently it was a great show. I seen some pictures. They had a double ring, so I don't know if they were doing a double ring battle royal like Larry Matisick and Herb did a few years ago, or how it played out. But from the pictures, it looks like they had a great crowd. So it looks like it went over pretty well. It's just these last few months is SICW's just booked so much that we've actually been booked on the same days. Because some of us used to go over there and some of them used to come over here, but we couldn't make that happen. But I'm not too sure when their next show is either. But
I don't know, but I always like talking to the Searcher. He's so fiery, and it's easy to get him riled up. So I like messing with him.
Right.
Hey, one of our most hit shorts was me getting the Searcher riled up and posting it. I'm laughing all the way through it, and I still laugh about it.
That's what's coming up for the future of SICW this Saturday, and then November the 2nd, and then November the 23rd. Now, regardless of how it turns out, November the 23rd is our last show for the year. December, there is no wrestling, and I'm actually looking forward to that because, so many shows that my body can use a little break to heal up.
Well, the bump card is getting a little bit full.
Right.
But
and,
before we close out, did you get anything in the mail?
I did. Well, not in the mail. I did go back to Target just to see if they clearanced out any more of those He-Man toys. And they did. And I did pick up 2 more. But the flea market was at Belleville this weekend. So I did go there. Now, I didn't pick up anything new per se. I did. So those LJN wrestlers I've been talking about for many weeks, I always like to find one that's better than the one I have. There was a lot of them there. There was probably 12 of them there, but I had all 12. But I did pick up 2 more from there that are in better shape than the ones that I have. So basically, I took them for the better appearance. And I was talking about it to my wife, and I was thinking about taking my doubles that I have and going to like November 2nd and, selling those off, to get some money to buy the other ones that I don't have, so that's probably what I'll end up doing because, if I can find them cheap, I buy them regardless if I have them or not. One, some people don't know how much they're worth, so they might sell them pretty cheap and I can grab them. And if they're in better, condition than mine, then I just replace them. And then, if I can recoup some of that money and put it towards the other ones I don't have, I'm all down for that. But so I did buy some other ones for the He-Man line that was on clearance. This is actually a throwback to the old He-Man because I don't know if you remember the old He-Mans had the battle chest where, if they hit each other, their chest would actually flip to show damage. Now,
Yep, I had all those toys, the flip chest one.
Yeah. Now, so these new ones, they don't have the great thing inside the chest that flips it. It's actually the chest piece comes off, and then you put the other one on. So that's kind of a downgrade. You figure if they could have done it for the old line, why couldn't they do it for the new line? But definitely cool looking, though. I like the long sword and the shield and everything. I don't know this guy's name, but I had him when I was a kid, the original one. He's like a samurai warrior, and he comes with a gold hand.
Yeah, Thor chocolate.
But he's definitely cool. What I actually was trying to go for, one of the most valuable He-Man characters from the 80s is they call him Scareglow, and basically he's just a skeleton, but he glows in the dark.
And him too.
Yeah. That thing goes, if it's in mint condition and in the package, $1,000. If it's not in the package and still in kind of mint-ish condition, you're looking $500, $550. If it's not in mint condition, it's still going for like $400. But this new line has their version of Scareglow, and he's in the same categories like the older models that they're clearancing out, and so he's supposed to be clearance too if you can find him. I just haven't found him yet, but that's the one I want to get.
So, folks, if you're going to come to the show and breeze, if you have Scareglow, bring it to Jim.
Well, I tell you, I would prefer to gather up the ones from the 80s, but I tell you, toys from our childhood is going for crazy amount of money. It amazes me. I watch these guys on YouTube, and and it's weird lines too that I never got into as a kid. Like there was some sort of sharks. It's just figures of sharks. I can't think of the actual toy line. But those things are going for $400 each individual fucking figure. And I watched this. I love watching a guy named Froggy Flips. And he's probably like...
Yeah, I watch him every now and then too.
Yeah, so he's like the best one because he doesn't... there's some that I watch that will actually... will go to a flea market and he'll hound the seller. And, if it's $400, you'll take $200? No? How about $250? And they constantly try to, the guy who's selling it knows how much the toy is valued at. So why are you trying to hit him with a low ball offer? Where Froggy, he knows what it's worth too. And, he'll pay what he has to pay.
Yeah, but mostly Froggy will go, well, I'll take all of it if you do it for this. I've seen him do that.
Yeah, he does do bundle deals when he's trying to buy. This guy is so well known now that he gets called up, and there's videos of him where people call him to their house and say, I'm trying to sell everything here. And he's like, do you want to sell it individually or do you want to sell it all as a package? But yeah, so there's a video that I just seen last week that he dropped, and he spent $760 on a figure of some sort of dog. There's a line of figures, and it's like mutts, and they're like, this mutt has like gloves on like a boxer or something. And evidently that line is just like crazy expensive. And he dropped $760 on one figure. And I'm thinking, that's crazy.
That's nuts. I don't know what that line is, so I've never heard of that.
It's just these off-brand lines. Now, there's actually, I don't know if you, there's some generic wrestlers that back in the 80s and 90s that you can buy, at like stores like Farmar or like Kmart. They were just knockoffs. And they, like one of them kind of looks like an old Andre the Giant, and they made one that kind of looks like Hulk Hogan. But these knockoffs are still going for like $40 or $50 a piece. And they're just really generic wrestlers. Like the body, regardless which one you buy, it's the same body, but they might be painted a little different. And then the head is normally the only thing that changes. and it's just crazy that these people are buying this stuff up and driving the prices up because I watch these guys, and there's a groups of videos that I watch, and they are collectors, so they collected what they wanted to collect, so now they're trying to collect the oddball ones, and the oddball ones are all the generic ones, or the cheaply made ones from back in the day, and they're doing it because those were never meant to be saved. Well, actually, no toy was ever meant to be saved or collected back then. But the knockoffs or the generic ones were poorly made. It came in really cheap containers or plastic, bubbles. And so they were always the worst ones. And if the parents threw them away, well, it was just a cheaper version, so they were never meant to last, is what I'm trying to get to. And those are the ones that they're going after now, because they collected all the ones that they wanted in the main lines. But these generic knockoffs are harder to get because no one saved them, or at least less people saved them. So now that's what they want. And they're spending big money for it. It's kind of crazy to me. But I love watching videos.
When we leave here in a sec, we need to stay on for a couple things.
Sure.
One is I need to let you know something about.
Well, let's just take that, and I'll go ahead and wrap her up. I do want to give some shout outs to the subscribers that once we got out of our band, we jumped up in subscribers. And so I want to appreciate, I want to thank the ones that just recently subscribed. And our shorter videos are getting a lot of play now. The Ric Flairs and the Bruiser Brodies, they jumped up over to 1,000 views, and much appreciated. Our last week's podcast wasn't our highest rated podcast subscriber wise or view wise, but it's been definitely better each week since the shadow ban has been lifted. So I appreciate you guys for viewing our material. Appreciate you guys for subscribing. And it's, if you can just help us out and share it, that way it gets out to more people and we can get some more subscribers, some more people on the podcast, start doing this live. That's like our ultimate goal, is to get this live out to you. But we don't want to do it until we got it down packed and got the subscribers behind us as well. But yeah, definitely thank you guys for viewing our material. And if you like it, like I said, let us know, comment. Some of the videos had some great comments on it. We would like all the videos to be giving us comments. So if you liked it or you didn't like it. And don't forget, we need a new nickname for Nate, because we don't want him associated with what I had associated him with last week.
If you were trying to say that I was one of the best pro wrestling producers out there, that's fine.
Yeah.
But not the other.
But so leave us a comment, view our stuff, share it for us, throw it on Facebook too, because I do that every week. I take our YouTube video, throw it on Facebook, and we still get the views off of the Facebook too, because you got to click the link anyway, so it shoots you straight into YouTube. So share it on Facebook and all your other social medias that help us out a ton. And next week, hopefully we'll have Bobby back, and then we got to figure out what podcast Glenn Williams and Kowalski is going to take over, and how we might structure that so it doesn't get too out of hand. But that's for another day. So from everyone from the Squared Ring podcast, Nate and Jim and the fictional Bobby D that's missing this week, you guys have a good night. Thank you.
See you.